Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome if you are new. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Madeleine. I'm originally from Melbourne, Australia, and I moved to the UK at the end of 2020. Today's video is going to be my experience with the NHS. So if you've been following me for a while, you might remember that I went to hospital at the end of last year. But before I get into that, I just wanted to share briefly a bit more about the NHS if you do not live in the UK and have never heard of it before. The NHS, or the National Health Service, was set up in 1948 as a way to provide accessible healthcare for everyone. And the way that it is funded is through general taxation, through national insurance contributions, and more recently, the immigration health surcharge. So if you've never heard of that, people who apply to live, work or study in the UK, so anything that's not a tourist visa, you will have to pay for the immigration health surcharge, and it is charged per year up front. So at the moment I think it's £600 per year, but I see it as my money is going towards someone's healthcare, and that's always a good thing. So it is the lead up to Christmas and I'm feeling so sick, and I was pushing myself hard to try and overcome this sickness so I could do all the things that I had planned. The day before I went into hospital, we ordered takeaway. I was feeling a little bit better. I could move around without too much pain. And that night I woke up with a fever and feeling very nauseous. So throughout the night I was in and out of the bathroom feeling very sick. That afternoon my husband said that I probably need to go to hospital because I was in excruciating pain, and so he calls 111 and they confirmed that I need to go to hospital because I didn't want to go into hospital unless it was absolutely necessary. So I checked myself into A&E and it's pretty much similar to Australia. I had all my documents with me just in case they asked for my immigration documents, but they never asked. I was just asked for my name, address and why I'm in the hospital today. Later on, I did end up getting a letter from the hospital trust that I went to prove my immigration status and my proof of address to prove that I was a resident, but that was after my hospital visit. I sat down in the waiting area and waited for my name to be called, and at this point I was in so much pain I couldn't really look up. So I get called in to see the nurse, and I am so happy that I'm finally going to be relieved of my pain, hopefully. I go over all the things that happened in the past week and as well as explain my night from hell. Then she was like, they'll probably need to run a few tests. So she inserts a cannula and gives me some water and some painkillers just to take the pain off while I wait for a doctor. I am assuming I was put high on the list on triage because it wasn't 15 minutes later that I got in to see a doctor, and I explained my situation again to the doctor, and she does some blood tests, some urine samples, also a pregnancy test just in case I was pregnant, and yeah, then she did a manual feel of my belly, and at that time it was rock solid and very painful to the touch. She says most likely it's appendicitis, and she was going to get a surgeon in for a second opinion to see if I required surgery. Turns out I did. Once the surgeon came in, he did the same thing, the manual touch of my stomach, and he's like, yes, I need to get you in for surgery. There's nothing tonight, so you'll need to wait for a hospital bed. So I was actually quite shocked because in the past I have had experiences where I haven't been believed by healthcare professionals. Either I get brushed off about my pain, or that I'm too young to have this certain pain, So it felt quite refreshing to be listened to by healthcare professionals, and I guess those few instances that happened back in Australia kind of put me off seeking medical attention when I probably needed it. So after I get news that I'm going to be staying in the hospital overnight, I call my husband to let him know and to ask if he can bring a few items into the hospital, and during that time they also test me for coronavirus, and turns out I had corona at the same time. I was experiencing no symptoms. Yeah, I was quite surprised that it came up positive, but anyway, once it came up positive, I got quickly moved into the A&E COVID ward section. So I had to wait a couple hours to get a hospital bed. It felt like forever that I was waiting in this seat to get a bed. At one point I thought they forgot about me, but eventually 2 guys came to wheel me up to my room, and it was quite large. The hospital that I was in was quite new. I'm not sure when it was built, but everything looked very modern, very clean, and yeah, it was a nice room. I had a lookout over a woodland area, so when I looked outside I could see trees and nature, so that was lovely. And I also had a private bathroom, which I wasn't expecting. So once I am in my room and settled, the nurse comes in, offers me tea, coffee, hot chocolate or water. I ask for tea and a water. I know I was getting surgery in the morning, so I wasn't allowed to eat or drink after midnight, and I was cutting it very close. So I quickly had my tea just in time, and then the nurse came back in and she's like, sorry, I'm gonna have to take your water away, no more food or drink until after your surgery. So the night nurses were very lovely. It was my first time overnight in hospital, so they went over how things work, like the bed, anything that I need to use, as well as the call button if I need help. And they also showed me how to go to the bathroom, being attached to a IV drip. In the morning around 7 a.m. I was woken up and prepared for surgery. I had to get changed into a hospital gown as well as put on some socks. They also did another pregnancy test, I guess to make extra sure that I wasn't pregnant, and then I was sent down to the surgery. Once I got onto the surgery table, the surgeon came up to me and he said, what are you getting done today? I had to explain as well as state my name and address and date of birth. And then the anesthesiologist came and explained what he was going to do, and then he put a breathing mask on over my eye. So he placed it here, and I was like grabbing his hand and just, please move it down. But obviously I couldn't really talk because I was getting this mask shoved into my face, and I just closed my eyes and pretend I'm not being blasted with oxygen in my eye. I don't really remember anything after that point until I remember hearing a voice calling out my name. After she saw that I was awake, I was then put back into my room, and then I slept pretty much for the rest of the day, and I was woken up for dinner. So dinner that night was ice cream. I was quite excited about the sugar, and I think I must have looked quite hungry because the nurse came back in and offered me more ice cream, and I said yes please. So she came back with another ice cream and 2 yogurts. So that night I was feeling a lot better, obviously quite sore from the surgery, but my abdominal pain had gone. The challenging part was getting up out of bed to go to the bathroom, so I needed a nurse's assistance in helping me out of bed, and I came back out and the nurse had disappeared. Getting back into bed was quite a challenge, and I did it, but it was so painful. So after a painful getting out of bed and in bed experience, I googled how to manage getting in and out of bed after abdominal surgery, and I found a really good video by a physiotherapist, and I practiced a couple times hopping in and out of bed, and then I put it into practice after that. I found it quite useful, so I didn't have to call the nurse every 2 hours or something for help. I know that's what they're there for, but I felt like I could probably do this myself. Anyway, so the next morning I get woken up for breakfast. You could choose from a range of options. I just picked cereal, toast, and coffee and an orange juice. Just after breakfast, the surgeon came in to explain what happened during surgery. He said it was definitely appendicitis and my appendix was removed, and they also removed a buildup of fluid. And then he said that I could go home, but I have to wait for my prescriptions to come through, and someone would be coming in with my discharge information, and at that point I could go over any questions that I had for my recovery. He said that I don't need any follow-up appointments because it was a pretty straightforward surgery. So I was quite happy to be going home. Obviously I enjoyed my time at the hospital, but I also really wanted to get back home and just be in my own little comfort zone to recover after my surgery. So that day was a long day. I was waiting for quite a long time for everything to come through. It comes around to lunchtime, so I asked a nurse if they could check with the pharmacy to see what's happening with my prescription. And they get back to me and say, oh, the pharmacist is on lunch break. So after lunch they will go check again. So the person doing my discharge never arrived. I was speaking with the nurses and I'm like, someone's meant to explain what I need to do when I get home, and they're like, oh, we're not aware of that. And I'm like, okay. So I just googled it, and I actually found a document on another NHS hospital website that had the surgery that I just had and the aftercare of things that you need to do after the surgery, which was very helpful. And now at least I'm not going into my aftercare without knowing what to do. And yeah, I was released from hospital around 6 p.m. on New Year's Eve. So that day I got told I would be released from hospital at 9 a.m. and I actually left at 6 p.m. So I know that I'm coming from a place where I haven't been really taken care of in the past, other than waiting around almost an entire day for a prescription and to be released. I had a very good experience. Every person at that hospital that I had encountered was so helpful, very friendly, and I just had a very enjoyable experience. I also looked up what it would cost me to have the same situation back home in Australia. I would be out of pocket 150 Australian dollars. I know that's not a lot, but Medicare don't always cover the full cost of hospital visits. So most Australians I know, they have private health insurance. Anyway, that is all from me today. Thank you so much for joining me. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this one. I'll see you next time.